This is the Good Fire Podcast. Stories of Indigenous fire stewardship, cultural and social empowerment, and environmental integrity. Hey folks, welcome back. This is one of the last episodes of Good Fire Season 2. It's been quite a journey. We're so thankful for you guys to have listened to all of this and to taken this journey with us. I'm just thankful to have been a part of it. And today's episode was a special one. We had someone on that apparently is a legend in this world and is a pretty big deal. So, Amy, who are we talking to today?
Yeah, so today we have the legendary Victor Steffensen on the podcast. The cultural fire community knows him very well, and I'll try not to fangirl too much. But I think for me, like, it's similar to kind of Ron Good, who we had on earlier this season. Like, Victor has been out there a long time, before this was popular and there was attention on it, burning and just seeing that need for Indigenous management of the ecosystems. And so, I just find his work to just be super inspirational. And the Firesticks Alliance, which he's involved with, that group is just awe-inspiring, the work that they've done. And just the example that they set for us too in like Canada and other countries. And so we have Victor. His book just came out recently called Fire Country. He just released a children's book as well that we talk about in the podcast. He's a musician too. You can listen to some of his music on different music platforms if you're interested. And then as well, we have Adrian Webster on with us today, who goes by Ado as his nickname. And so Ado, is just an up-and-coming cultural burner within the Firesticks Alliance. And he is just like a storyteller too. And I think, just makes me so proud and excited for the future. So we're really going to get into in this one, like not Victor's typical things that he talks about, but we're really going to talk about mentorship in this one and, how we can bring up kind of that next generation of Indigenous fire practitioners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something to say about Ado was pretty impressive. Like we thought we were going to be interviewing Victor, and I think Victor let Ado do a lot of the talking, just because being who he is. I don't know. Ado's a young man, but he seems like he's been doing this for decades. Like he's just he has the entire idea encapsulated already, it seems. And like the whole time Ado was talking, it was funny to watch Victor. He was just nodding appreciatively and proudly.
So proud,
just because I think he was saying everything that Victor wanted to say, right? And so it was incredible to see, even just watch that relationship.
I think maybe people don't know when we do record these is that now with the new fancy pandemic technology, we can actually see each other, so it's kind of like a Zoom call as well. And so that was I think one of the best things about watching it was just seeing the smile on Victor's face as Ado really kind of just talked about his experience, stories with burning, why it's important to him, what he sees for the young generation and the future of the Firesticks group. So I'm really excited to get into it. And Ado as well is funny. Victor is too, but some of the stories that Ado tells are really good in the podcast.
Yeah, that's what I definitely love that about the Good Fire series and this community, Indigenous communities, is that nobody takes themselves too seriously. Everybody's awesome. I love it. It's so great.
And the thing too for me that's always amazing is like that, just the storytelling aspect. I think everybody that we have on, they are cultural fire practitioners or researchers or other things, but just that ability to tell and share stories, something that I think often gets lost or, isn't taught or something, or maybe it's a natural gift too. I don't know, but it's just, for me, it's just been awesome to have these folks on here this whole season and last season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been incredible. It's been a great journey. And so this episode is actually split into two. It was a big, long conversation. Most of Victor is going to be in this one. Victor actually lost Wi-Fi connection halfway through the next one. So Victor's mostly in this one. The next one he's only in about halfway. But they're both incredible. We were going to try and cut it down. We were going to try and edit it and get it into something, but it was just all such great nuggets of wisdom that we just turned it into 2 episodes so everyone can listen to the full context. So it was great. And I'm pumped for everybody to listen to this. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go to Victor and Ado.
Here we go. Why don't we just get started by getting to know you guys a little bit? So, Ado, why don't you just say your full name and kind of where you're from and any kind of extra things you want to add in there so people can know you before we have this conversation.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Matt. I'm Ado. That's just my nickname. My real name, which I only ever get called from Mum when I've done something wrong, is Adrian Webster. So I'm from Nowra. I was born in 1992, and been so fortunate to grow up in Nowra. With my community and with my culture, and I'm just so honoured and so grateful and so blessed to have had that upbringing in that location. That connection to that place that I've got through my community and through my family is, it's everything to me. It is me. It's who I am. And to have that connection now with Uncle Victor, and to be able to connect with that even more and protect that and not only protect it but enhance it, make it better, make sure it's safe, and make sure that it's there for the next generation. I don't know.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. That's inspiring. I like how we started this off with a bang. You really came in and brought the passion. I love it.
Sorry.
This is what we seek for. This is what we hope to get to by the end of the episode, but you're just popping it off right off the start. This is perfect.
Yeah, sorry.
You're
I was
the perfect podcast guest. That was great. Good. I think people know you now a little bit. They got a little insight. This is great. Yeah, so, Victor, same to you.
Yeah, I'm Victor Steffensen. I'm a Tagalaka descendant from far North Queensland, and I'm the lead fire practitioner for Firesticks. Also, I'm a filmmaker and musician and author as well. So, this is the work I've been doing since I was only a teen, is reviving traditional knowledge and working in that space of see the importance of reviving a lot of culture that has been lost in the past through colonization, and also healing our landscapes and communities is really a high priority for me, and I think for many of our communities across Australia.
Thanks, Victor. You're so I'm going to embarrass you a bit here because, you're very modest, which is awesome, but you have written, I think, one of the best books on cultural burning called Fire Country that I'd highly recommend that everybody read here. And I just saw that there's a new companion book as well that's come out called Looking After Country with Fire. And so I'm just wondering if you chat a little bit about what made you kind of decide to do a children's book about fire?
Yeah, well, doing the children's book was me sort of getting back to the arts and, getting back to storytelling and having fun, basically. Because, in the earlier times, you think that the way to activate our culture and the way to activate change within society and, towards connecting to landscapes more strongly, just as our Indigenous peoples have done worldwide. We need to do that in a fun way. And, and I thought, well, I'm sick of the meetings, sick of banging your head against a wall with government agencies and policies. And so I said, let's just write children's books, because basically everyone's at the same level of learning anyway. They're all at baby steps in terms of learning about Indigenous.
No comment.
Speaking from the baby steps and from children's view and singing songs and painting pictures and and talking the real basics around why this is important. And and that's the beauty of that for me, is that, our knowledge isn't in schools and our knowledge isn't in universities, and there's so much for the world to learn about this. And it's not just about the fire, it's about so much more, And, let's do it in a fun way. And so that's why I started to work with the children. And of course, we got to start working with the children, because when I start to see the young people protesting down the streets and climate change and marching down the streets, I see that as very powerful. But also, I don't want to see our future generations marching down the streets trying to make change. I'd rather see them out on the land doing the work and enjoying themselves and going down that right road of healing communities and landscapes, in a way that it's positive and not retaliating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the children's book come in, and creating the character Uncle Cool. And Uncle Cool is the character that basically just leads you through the story and teaches you about fire. And I'm hoping that I'll do some more on different topics as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Uncle Koo was a real person. That was one question I was going to ask about.
Yeah, well, I based him on my uncle. So my Uncle Russell, who's my uncle from in the Townsville region. He lives about 4 hours south of me. And I wanted to base it on a family character. So I based all the looks of Uncle Cool to Uncle Russell. And as an advantage of that, I was able to get Uncle Russell to play Uncle Cool in real life in the video, in the music video that's connected to the book. And because at the back of the book there's a song. And getting the song in there is also a part of the ceremony component of our culture, making sure that that's also communicated through music, just like dance and music and song and story. And it's really important that we keep evolving our ceremony and in different ways, and keep on the songs and the positive teachings that way as well. So bringing the song in wasn't just for making a song, it was really to enforce that ceremony factor so that the kids are singing and enjoying themselves while they're learning about this knowledge. Yeah.
Nice. And so what's the song called, Victor?
The song is called Cool Burning, and that song is on YouTube. You can see it now, Cool Burning by Mulong. Mulong is just my artist name that was given to me, by elders, and that's what I've been using over the years for my music and film work and so forth for many years now. And so you can check that out. And on the back of the book, there's a code there where you can scan your phone and go straight to the video. And it's quite it's a lot of fun.
That is cool.
That's great. You also, I was going to just quickly say, have a song called Great Land by the same title, Mulong, is it? Yeah. And that's such a positive song. I love that one. Lots of times with fire, we often hear about the dark and the bad side of it, but I just find your work and the music and the art that you create to be much more uplifting. I think it sends such a better message about fire.
Yeah, well, when you think about, you got to think about how things were traditionally, as well, and we got to learn from those lessons. And if we look at our landscapes, it tells us what our path, what we should be doing. For example, if you look at the landscape in terms of what we eat, you sort of look in the land and say, well, is there cheese in there? No, there isn't, And so there's really simple things that tell us the land is really simple way they can talk to us if we really, really think about it. And the same thing with the music. And when we look at our cultural and ceremony, when we look at our ceremony stuff, all our dances about knowledge and about teaching, and all the traditional songs are about hunting and all these skills that you have to learn. And I go through all the songs and all the traditional dances that I've learned over the years, and not one of them is negative. They're all teachings and they're all positive. And I think it would probably be the same in your own culture, like it's all positive teaching through our stories. And that's why I sort of, through my work, I want to portray the same thing. It's all about teaching and the positive how beautiful things are within our culture, within our environment, and also who we could be as a modern society. And that's just keeping in those guidelines, rather than singing about desire or what we have or money and women and things like that. I just think it's a shame that we don't have more music and art in the sense of teaching directly from landscapes the way Indigenous cultures have done for so long. And that, I think, contributes to sustainability and a happy society. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, so I won't ask you for your take then on the modern hip hop scene.
I love the hip hop stuff. I love all music. I grew up with the hip hop stuff, and when I was in school, but back then it was like Grandmaster Flash, and these positive messages and clean stories, and don't take drugs and all these sort of things. It wasn't the way it is now,
For sure. Yeah, they were. That was like a storytelling kind of culture too when it first started. So sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. I was just going to make a point about the contrast between Victor, your work as an artist, and like the rest of society's, or the internet, I should say, right? Like it's just, it's the complete opposite, right? It tells it's a much more motivating story than like, we're all going to die if we don't do something, right? Like
Twitter doom scrolling.
That's all fear, When you see fear is, one of the biggest problems, in the world today. And, a lot of that comes from ignorance, And when we look at, and the other side of that is control. And so when we see the fear doing what it's doing to our society, it really is alarming that people could be scared of the landscape, and people could be, fear the fire, and then, then it's just used within our society all the time, even through the COVID, and everything. It's just, we got to get away from that fear, and that's where Indigenous, knowledge and cultures, have been really important for me, because it's always been about solution and about the right way of doing things, and handing down knowledge is a clear example of positivity, handing down that knowledge to younger generations. I mean, that doesn't spell fear. That spells positivity, So that fear factor is huge, and it comes in so many shades. And that's why I like to work at things holistically and look at society, and even the way that we structure our Firesticks, our organization here in Australia, the way that we work together, and the way that we, have the way we structure our teams are all shared leadership, and not to have someone above someone, and that creates that fear factor, that uneasiness and unequalness. And so, there's so much to learn in terms of, harmony right across the board, with everything through, our old knowledge systems, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in Cree, we have a term for like a Cree natural laws called Wakotowin, which basically just means that all things are connected, like all things are interrelated, all things need each other. And it's such a simple concept, basically a holistic way of looking at the world that we've, lost as we've replaced it with colonial laws, unfortunately. But many people in, my community and others are really trying to get that way of life back, like to live with Wakotowin. So, and Ado, I want to ask you too. So how did you get involved with, the Firesticks scene, with the burning with Victor? What brought you into this place that you're in now?
That'd be my dad. See, he's always done a lot of work in the environment. So when I was a little kid, we spent heaps of time in the bush. So he was making his own furniture. So we'd go out, find old trees, old logs and stuff, and we'd drag them home, and then Dad would turn them into timber, like tables and chairs and things. And so just always been out in the forest and learning about the trees, because he'd always tell me, this is this one, this is that one. And yeah, there's all these different plants and all these different animals out there. And yeah, just absolutely loved it. And then, yeah, and so did Dad. And so then he stopped doing that and thought he'd get a better job and work for national parks. And instead of, just being in the bush, he was out there, protecting it. But the more and more he was doing that and the more he was learning, he was realizing that it wasn't happening the way it should be. And there was all these facts that he was learning from university and from all the work that he was doing, and like facts that shouldn't be true, like that we have the highest extinction rate in the world of flora and fauna, and all these little things like that would, just really upset us, really anger us, and things that we really wished that weren't true. And what Dad figured out was all this is happening for one thing, because our people have been taken out of that forest and we're not allowed to manage it. And because we've been taken out and our management has been stopped, that's what's allowed all this to happen. And then on top of that, now we've got all these wildfires coming. And that's another reason, is because we're not out there preventing that. We're not out there removing all the hazard, taking away all that fuel. We're letting that accumulate and build up and become more of a hazard. And then again, after learning how to manage that and take away those risks, we're watching the mainstream agencies, everyone who's got all their science and all their certificates and all their fire trucks and their uniforms to go out and do all this work. We was watching them sabotaging stuff. We was watching everything they do was so wrong and so, I don't even know what word to put on, like malice, like it was so bad. The work they was doing was so hurtful to the land and to us as people who were come from that land and connected to it. We was honestly watching them declaring war on us and on our country, because the tactics that they use for fire are tactics that we have as well, but we would only ever deploy those tactics in a war, and we aren't those kind of people. We love and accept and respect everything, so we don't do that. And to sit back and watch people do that who have no connection to this country, they have no knowledge about this country, they have no spiritual connection here, and just so disconnected, but yet they're the one with authority, they're the one with the right and the access, and we're the ones shut out. We're the ones who get told we know nothing. You haven't been to university, you don't have a certificate. But all that stuff is like what Uncle Victor said at the beginning. That's all baby steps. All that stuff, all that time at university they've lost or they're wasted is honestly not even the first page or the cover of a children's book. Because if they was to read that children's book, they would learn, 10 times as much as they did in all their training, all their university.
Assuming they listen to the children's book.
Yeah, but that's where they go wrong. They don't listen, They don't listen to the country, and that's where they get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, Ada, then what happened? You kind of decided then that you wanted to change things. How did you start getting involved?
Yeah, well, I was in Sydney at the time. So I was in the city. I just moved away, and I was working. I was in an out-of-home care agency. So I was working with heaps of foster children. And my job was to teach them about culture and connect them with their culture and try and inspire them. And and while I was up there, my dad rang up and he said, "Son, I need you to come home. Only for a week, maybe 2, but we got this stuff coming up." When he told me what was going on, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What? Like, this is finally happening?" And it was hectic. My work wouldn't let me go. And even though it was just for a week, they said, "Nah, it's irrelevant. You can't go." And so I ended up quitting. So I quit my job. I moved home for 1 week's training. And so we spent, not even a week. I think it was like 3 days with the RFS. And we learned all this stuff, and it was hectic because when we was in there learning, the scientists who were teaching us that, like, they've got all this technology, and they're saying to us, like, we've only just figured this stuff out, and we can't believe it. Like, telling us about these things that they've just figured out through their research. And the things they told us, we had learned, I don't know, probably 2 years before, sitting out in the bush from our uncles, but not learning through science, but learning through spirit. And then when we were sitting in the room with those scientists, and they're saying, we've only just figured this out, and me and my brothers are looking at each other going, well, how the hell did our old people have all this knowledge and they're just out in the bush? You know, they're sitting around a fire, and they had all this knowledge, because that's where they told us all this stuff. And now we go into this room, and these people are just catching up, and we've been sharing these yarns for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. And so we knew straight away how advanced we were. But to actually then go out on the country and see that with Uncle Victor, that was just mind-blowing. It was next level, because we'd hear things and you'd want to believe it, but you just couldn't. You couldn't accept it, just because there was doubt. You know, like, we walked into the bush and we had no fire truck, we had no tools, we had nothing. I don't think I even had shoes on. And he was saying, you're right, you don't need them. And then to be in the bush, never have lit a fire before. I've seen wildfire, seen bushfires and been evacuated from them, but never been in the forest and lit the forest on fire and stayed there to watch it. And yeah, it was just crazy, because before we did it, he was saying stuff. He said, yeah, the fire will go over here and this will burn and then this will happen and the fire will come up here, but it won't go any further, and all this stuff. And then, yeah, probably about half an hour later, when Uncle, he lit that fire, and then we watched it for about an hour, and it was doing everything he said. Before that fire was even done, we was just like, what? Like, how the hell? How did he know? And when we left, because the RFS was with us, we told them our plan. We was like, yeah, we're just going to leave it. And they're like, nah, you can't leave it. Like, we've got an hour. We have to put it out in an hour because we need to get back to the office and go home. And this has to be out before we go. So we said, all right, well, we'll put it out, and just to make them happy, but we weren't. And so we were just pretending. So we were pretending to do it so they'd leave. And as soon as they left, we stopped and we let it go. And yeah, he was telling us, yeah, it'll go out at this time and this is where it'll go out. And yeah, it was weird. And still I was doubting Unc. I was thinking, how can this happen? And I asked Unc, how? And he told me, he said, because at this time, the dew is going to be on the ground and it's going to be too wet for anything to burn. And so I went home, and, well, not straight away, but I went to my brother's house, and it was about half an hour before Unc said the fire was going to go out. I was like, all right, I'll go home because I'm going past this fire and I'm going to see it. And sure enough, I saw it, and I shit myself. It was still going. And, yeah, and I was thinking, shit, like, we're going to jail. We're getting locked up for this. And, so yeah, I drove, I went home. And, but when I got home, see, it was like 15 minutes before the time Unc said the dew was coming. And so I got home, I got out of the car and I was looking at the grass and it was dry. And it was like, yeah, 9:30, almost 10 o'clock at night. And I walked inside, I had dinner, and I was like, all right, it's past 10 o'clock now, I'm going outside. I walked outside, and the grass was soaking wet. It was completely covered in dew. And I was like, what? How did Unc know this? So I went back inside, I went to sleep, and when we went back to the fire ground, I ran in, because before we left, Unc, he marked out the tree, and he said, this is where it's going to stop at 10 o'clock tonight. And when I went in there, like, oh no, Unc said it might not even get here, but this is as far as it'll ever get. And on a day, like, it was a few meters shy of where Unc said. And when I saw that and saw that the fire was out and like nothing, like there wasn't even a bit of smoke because the dew had wet everything. And to see that and just realize it and go, whoa, like this is it. Like this has been missing. This is why we're struggling. And the more we keep learning and the more we keep understanding and seeing how everything is connected, we're not just healing the land, we're healing ourselves, we're healing our people, our community, our culture, everything. And not just our culture, but mainstream mob, English mob, everyone. Everyone who comes here, they get to appreciate and feel what we're doing because we're healing this place. And not just for us, for everyone.
Yeah,
I wish
beautiful.
you could see the look on Victor's face. He looks like a proud uncle watching you retell the story. Yeah. Victor, do you remember going out there and working with them for the first time?
Oh, yeah, I do. They were, like I see the transformation straight away and young fellas like Ado and others. And it's, that's what keeps me going, and that transformation is just so beautiful to watch. And, and then just reassuring them that it's not me, it's the country, and that's the country that's doing all this magic. I'm just interpreting. And so just showing them, all that information and knowledge from landscapes. And there's so much to learn, On that occasion was the dew, and other occasions it's when other countries not ready to burn. And so there's all different indicators. And, and teaching them to the young ones is, it's just really great, to everyone, And so I'm just hoping that, we get 1,000 more ADOs, male and female coming through. And this is what it's all about, that's why I'm doing the children's book. That's why I'm, aiming at, the traineeship courses and, and building the practitioners and the coordinators. It's for the next generation of, of young people that are going to start this huge work of, healing our country, which is intergenerational. And what you've just heard from Ado is exactly, what we need. Yeah.
For sure. When I work with agencies, it's always about the agency learning from cultural burners like yourself. Like they want, as practitioners, to learn, but like, especially in Canada, we haven't really had the opportunity for Indigenous youth to learn from Indigenous knowledge holders about fire. And so I always get frustrated a bit with that because, instead, we're training kind of non-Indigenous practitioners about about cultural burning. It just seems like a misplaced in a way. And that's always why I've really admired the Firesticks Alliance, because I think you guys have always really centered on that mentorship of Indigenous youth, which has been amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's having the mums and the dads and the children and the grandfathers and the grandmothers and having everyone there, like at the fire, because they all need to learn. And everyone has to understand it so that we lose that fear of fire culturally, right across the nation. And this is all about culture. And if we're going to change the fear of fire and we're going to change society to be more connected to land, then it's about our modern culture. So you have our Indigenous culture that's always been there, that's always thriving and strengthening. But you also have the overall culture of the country that involves everybody. Like the Australian culture or the Canadian culture as a whole. And that's crucial that that culture as a whole is shifting in honor of the cultures that have been there before and still are today and learning from that. And it's only makes sense that if anyone's new living in a space or on a country, that they evolve their culture around that country, around the culture of that country. And that's why it's so important that Indigenous knowledge is demonstrating itself that way, So yeah, it is, to me, it's all about that culture. And if it is about culture, then everyone's got to learn. But if we look at the agencies, they exclude community. and they don't want to allow community to be there, and they only pick who they want from the community to work for them. Then they have all this policy that says that no one's allowed to be on the fire ground unless they have a certificate. And so we see horrible things happen to young people like Ada who are just getting started, who have to sit in the car, not allowed to get out of the car while they're out there burning the land. And so it's just because they haven't got a certificate yet. So it's that sort of behavior that it's set up to fail. And that's the sort of structure that is powering over the top of people and not seeing that equalness and not seeing how and it's also a really horrible structure that governs our land at the moment that we need to change. And it's that kind of structure as well that also diminishes all these benefits that come from the cultural lens of managing the land through fire. And so if we allow the agencies just to do this, then it'll be just them torching the land. No one will know what they're doing. It'll be hazard reduction and based on saving houses, and everything's hazard and words that are really negative that are cast upon our landscape. And then that's all it's ever going to be. And we won't see how fire is good for us and as people. And like you just saw in Ada, how it transforms young people. We won't see how it creates employment in so many different areas within the green economy, how it links to children's books and children's songs and positivity and so much more benefits for our community socially, culturally, and environmentally. But in the Western sense, it's paramilitary and it's fear and it's based on having a fight against Mother Nature. Oh man, we got to throw that out big time. You know, it's really not working. And
it's the culture of fear you mentioned.
Yeah. And a lot of non-Indigenous people are waking up to that. You know, and that's a lot of private landholders and people who are just normal. You know, on the landscape, on country and so they see the benefits in that too, and that's why here in Australia, you know, having people like Ada and young people like Ada now that are in these roles, looking after the land and exposed to the communities and running workshops now, having Ada running workshops. I mean, listen to him talk, and it's just so beautiful for people to hear. And so that's, you know, I just want to keep going so that Ada then trains the next young person and it just continues on to be the normal thing in this country, that spirit that way, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like Ada has picked up the torch, that's for sure. You're well on your way. It's exciting stuff. Yeah, it seems like your focus has very much been on that, hey, the next generation, on keeping this momentum going that you have created and just keep building on this knowledge and keep pushing against that culture of fear that we've been talking about so much. That's
right, because that's what happened to me. I mean, that's what the elders did to me. You know, they passed it on. They saw me, I was passionate and passed that on, you know. And so I got to do the same thing. And that's part of the tradition, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Victor. So I just had a question about so you guys have a new fight. I don't know what the proper term is, but basically cultural burner certification framework that's come out through Firesticks. And for me, that's a huge interest here, is that, you know, there's, for most agencies in Canada, they're the ones who certify basically who can be a burn boss or a burner on the landscape. So they hold, you know, the control and power. So then they'll say, you know, oh, an Indigenous person, you know, so-and-so can't go burn, even though they have lots of knowledge about it, because they don't hold that certification, which then they have to be a member of the agency to get. So yeah, it's funny, but it's also so frustrating. Like, so there's a lot of questions here about, you know, how can the cultural burners be certified? Who would certify them, and how would a program like that work? So I'm really interested to hear about what you guys are launching.
Yeah, well, we're launching our first training model, basically, that is certified to a diploma. And that's piggybacking on current TAFE courses and courses that are currently happening here in Australia. And that was a way to fast track it and get things happening straight away. But we're still at building block stages, even though that we've got our first regions kicked off and about 40 practitioners started in the Hunter Valley. We also have other areas now that are kicking off next year. And so it's moving quite quickly. And the way that we've done that is, well, you know, we need to have the Western qualifications so they can leave us alone. And so they can know that we have those things. If we can just say, okay, we have all this, so now you can't throw any more spanners in the works, then we can just get on with doing the job. And so doing the Western qualification is something that we want to deliver as well, because then we can deliver even more strongly around the Indigenous knowledge background as well and merge those. And also within the course as well, it's not just through doing the course and getting the diploma certificate through doing modules and stuff like that. There's also another way around it where it's just through practical application. And so if there's someone like Ado who has been doing this for a while now outside of the course, and like many have done around the communities, because we've been going long before this Firesticks was being developed, been mentoring communities for a good 15 years before that. And so there's a lot of young fellas and people who are already quite clued up. And if they can show and demonstrate that they can manage the land practically because they're not really good at theory, then that also passes if their elders and their community say, yeah, well, this is the person we want in our culture, in our tribe to be able to represent fire. And so that also is a way that's accredited through our traditional evaluation as well. And so that's where everything that we create has got to have that Indigenous governance and influence throughout that, so that it's more effective for our communities, and it can be regionalized more easily as well, and tailored for each region in a more positive way for the communities. So it's really great that this is happening, and it's 3 years, and when we look at the Western way, 2 weeks, a couple of days, and then they're out there torching the land. Just like giving a kid a loaded gun, and such a short time. And so that's why for us it's 3 years, because you got to learn how to care for our mother really carefully. You got to learn all the different trees, you got to learn all the soil, you got to learn all the different phases of sickness within different ecosystems and how we adjust our fires and apply them at different times, depending on the condition of the land and what it needs. And that is where all the indicators and reading country is so important. And all those values around bush foods and medicines and understanding all that knowledge is crucial too, so that they know what they're burning for and they understand the identity of landscape, what it should look like compared to what it looks like now. And so there's a lot of, lots to learn. And it's not just about rolling up a hose and burning in winter or burning one time a year as the Western views. It's so much information. And this course only can develop and get better and better as the regions go down the track of doing this with different people all through the times, So it's set up to improve. And that exactly what our knowledge is. It's a formula. It's a formula that comes from our landscapes and connecting to country. And once they have that formula and understand how to read from landscapes and learn from country, then that's the ultimate way to continue to learn throughout the rest of your life, working on country. And that's such an important way to learn. Yeah, and that's how we want to do this course. And it just doesn't fit in fire. It fits in so many other ways. Like we have people coming and listening that are teachers, people who are coming to listen who want to do food and health and well-being for their community, people who are doing youth programs. So you start to see how it's all, interconnected with so many opportunities and career options as well, not just around fire, because we're looking at our country and our sustainability of our land and how that connects to everything, who we are. So fire is just the spearhead to all this, and I'm hoping that develops into so many more fields. And on top of that, we have the PhD as well that's connected to this, where communities in their own groups will be able to do PhD, someone to do the monitoring and do the science side of it all and collect all the data and writing the papers up and sharing all the great outcomes and breakthroughs that these communities and these practitioners are going to endeavor on while they heal landscapes. Yeah, so really important.
Mm-hmm. So you said it's 3 years. So is it like a certificate program then that somebody can enroll in and then they go for 3 years, or is it kind of there's different sessions that are offered at different times during that 3 years?
Yeah, it's like a 3-year part-time. This on the communities themselves, so their own ranger groups or fire practitioners. We don't really like call them ranger groups now. We like to call them practitioners and that, or custodians. And those regions now, it's really at that stage one, and that is training the trainers and training the key people to get the ball rolling and start this important work in their regions, and training them all up, and getting them ready then to snowball that course to the next ones that come through. And we need to see thousands of people employed looking after the land. And so this is the beginning of trying to aim for that goal of lots of employment and meaningful work on landscapes that's well funded, and looking at innovation around how we can create the green economy around it as well by using weeds as harvesting and using our harvesting knowledge, because harvesting is also really important land management of our people. And we're talking about fire management, but everyone forgets about harvesting. And harvesting is really important, and that's how we use country, how we always using parts of the trees without killing the tree and taking things off the land and using those products. And we're not doing that anymore. And we haven't even got any of our economy based on that. And regardless how small or how big the return, there's always something for one community to benefit from. And that's why that innovation is among that as well. And looking at our cultural fire credit now that's launched next year, that our own credit scheme that is community owned and non-for-profit, that feeds people can know that they can buy credit that's Aboriginal owned, and that's fantastic. And all these things all feed together and in creating different streams and different opportunities that's going to support that land management back onto country and that connection back on country. Because when we look at our Indigenous land management and Aboriginal land management on country, one action did all this benefit to everything. One fire, for example, would create a healthy landscape for the women to collect stuff, to do art or weaving, and for men to do hunting and looking around, doing other things. And when we put that in a modern setting, then it also fits into modern careers, like someone who's working in law and working in architecture and working in different fields and health and youth programs, incarceration programs, whatever. It can feed into every aspect. And that's why building this course is so important to me and so important for everyone, that I want to see this advance into so many other fields that all come from landscape. And it's so exciting, rather than some text that we don't know whether it's, that textbook is proving that it's not connected to our country and it isn't relevant what we're learning. And so it's about bringing that relevance as well, and why working with the kids as well is all a part of that, and developing the education model for the kids too, the living knowledge place. It's another important part of that as well. And it's really crucial,
It seems like you've done an incredible job with Firesticks Alliance and just with your own personal work of creating that cultural shift, right? Or at least that's the optics that I get through Good Fire, through Amy, through my own looking into
through
it.
YouTube.
Through YouTube, yeah.
Be honest, Matt, you're Googling. You're Googling.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Name.
Well, that too. But I'm only Googling it because you told me about it. So, but making that cultural shift seems like one of the biggest steps that needs to be taken. That Australia has clearly. I don't know how far down that road you are, but you're farther down that road than anybody else is, it seems. And you recently just had this partnership with Suncorp. That's what it's called, an insurance company, right? And it seems like getting those big companies involved somehow. Like, I don't know how you'd manage to do that, but it seems like creating that cultural shift in the rest of society, the non-Indigenous part of society, is the biggest challenge. So how did you go about doing that, and how has that partnership changed the opportunity for Firesticks and the actual optics of it for the general public and that kind of thing? And then also, I know this partnership has also helped create the certification and this kind of stuff. It's helped build the way for that. So yeah, how did this happen?
Well, all that happens through all the work that we've all been doing, you know, and keeping that buzz going. I mean, the whole idea of, you know, training people like Ado and getting them activated, you know, you can imagine, you know, an Ado in every part of the country, every community, you know, all activating and doing stuff. It soon starts to create something for the country to realize, hey, you know, Aboriginal people are actually standing up here, and they're actually trying to get their management back on the land. They want to be part of the solution. They have a solution. And that was an awareness that went right across our country from all the work that our communities have been doing, regardless that we've been working together or not. It has been a really important shift. And then when we see Mother Nature support us in that way as well, with big fires, and, you know, Mother Nature shouting at the top of her voice with those catastrophic fires and so forth. That's Mother Nature there talking too. And it's really been the country that's shifted everyone. I mean, we as people have been working really hard behind the scenes to try and break through all of this current dominance that we're surrounded by with this Western society. But Mother Nature just goes in and goes, boom, you know. Everyone just goes, whoa, you know, we've been the biggest fires in our history, and what are we doing? What's the answer here? And it's clear that what we're currently doing is not right. And then here over on the side is Aboriginal people of Australia, you know, with all this beautiful work that we've been doing that no one's been taking notice of, you know, properly. And so Mother Nature has been the one that really shifted the attention to Aboriginal people that way. And it's been the people of the land that's left there standing there going, see, we told you. Listen to us. And so we finally start to see a shift in the nation from those catastrophic events that's connected to all of that hard work that's been done to show that, hey, we're here still and we have this. We're doing the work right now as we speak. And that has given people a realization that, hey, we need to get and support this. And so organizations like Suncorp and other organizations that I can, name to the top of my head now, already involved with us and partners in big ways. And that's because, they start to realize that, hey, what we're all doing is not working. Let's try something different here. And something that's been here for all along and always has been managing this land. And so that's also a big part of Firesticks, and what I believe in is that we need to work together and we need to have everyone involved. This is not, okay, this is just for Aboriginal people, you get out of the way, or vice versa, or any other way that people see it as their own group's going to do this, or one individual is going to make it all happen. You know, they're going to become this or whatever. There's these desires that they seem to think is going to come for them or their organization. It really is about understanding that the problem's too big and that the land's huge, and we need everyone on board to manage this country and to support the process, and we all need to celebrate the same successes. And I keep drumming that into everyone's head. I keep drumming it into all the governments. I keep drumming it into everyone that listens. And I think they're listening, you know. And they're starting to learn, okay, how are we going to work together? And that's a hard thing to do for a lot of organizations that are based on
trust,
power, you know, and control. And how do they hand over the reins without losing control? And how do they hand over the reins without being left behind? You know, that's the fear. A fear again, you know, in a different shade. And that's the thing. Is being inclusive and making people comfortable and knowing that they're not going to be left behind, and knowing that they're a part of the story, and that they've got an important role to play, no matter who they are, where they come from, whether in the city or whether in the country. It's all about doing the right thing and respecting people and respecting place. And that's the real baseline to it all, you know? Yeah.
Building trust. It's an impressive thing that you guys have managed to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Victor, you probably don't really remember, but at one point you and I talked about that, and I was really concerned about appropriation of cultural burning knowledge. And I came to you and was like, what do we do? Everyone's trying to steal our knowledge. We should just like hide it. And you were like, no, like you have to be out on the land practicing and sharing. That's what makes knowledge alive.
That's what protects us, is being active and putting your knowledge on the land, on the country. And, that's why going around and mentoring communities and doing the workshops and activating so many communities is important, because it allows the rest of the nation to see that Aboriginal Australia are alive and well. Their knowledge is being practiced. And if we go near it and bastardize it, then it's a big chance we're going to get caught out, because they're all awake. They're all aware. And if we're not practicing our knowledge and we're not on country and we're not activating it, then it becomes more vulnerable and more opportunity for it to get bastardized and stolen and rearranged, just like they do dissect everything. And that's what they try to do over the years, is dissect our knowledge. And then I started to see burning for biodiversity, ecological burning, and they try and pick bits out of the Indigenous knowledge processes and then call it ecological burning. And again, separate things and put it in different realms so that, well, this is the burning for, ecological burning. This is different to cultural burning. You're doing it for culture. We're doing it for the environment. And so we need to stop that sort of behavior. And that's really, really dangerous when they dissect parts of our knowledge. When the cultural fire is, Aboriginal fire is biodiversity. It is looking after from wildfires. It is cultural and so beneficial. It feeds us all these benefits. And so there's only one fire. And that's why that one fire was so important in that squashing a lot of that danger of what science can do in dissecting our knowledge and creating different fields that exclude us then down the track. And so it's been like another reason why I wrote Fire Country and wrote the book was probably the main reason around that, was to acknowledge that knowledge and to protect that knowledge and to let everyone know that it's alive and well, and that if you try and dissect it and change it, then you're going to get caught out.
Well, that was one thing that, it stuck with me, Victor, so much, because I always get that comment here, like, oh, that was good in the past that you guys did that, but it's not applicable to today. But if there were, like you said, hundreds of Indigenous people out burning country, then, they can't say that it's not applicable because you're out there doing it.
Anyone that with a negative thought, well, it's too expensive to do this, or you can't do it anymore to change landscape, or we don't have the skills set anymore. Anyone that has those sort of negativities, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Good advice.
What they're talking about. And it's usually off the back of another agenda that's, feathering their own nests, and, they're worried. Again, the fear factor comes in. Oh, they're going to take our jobs, and, we're not going to exist anymore if we let them get this culture fire going. We're not going to be able to fight fires. All these things start to come into play, and all that negativity comes from that space. And that's why knowing that it is possible, everything's possible when we connect to landscapes. When Mother Nature's involved, anything is possible if we all get there and listen and learn the right way and just get on with the job. And let's face it, money is not, although we're told that money doesn't grow on trees and there's no money around, but as soon as there's a disaster, billions of dollars are thrown down the drain. And as soon as we see something bad happen, billions of dollars just come out of nowhere. But as soon as we want to do something positive, we can't find a couple of $1,000s, And it's all that misleading. And yet our landscape, now that's something that we run out. That's something that that doesn't grow on trees is the health of our country. If we lose all our landscape and trees and animals, we can't replace that. And so how is it that we can't afford to invest in the future? in a healthier landscape that's going to be the base to a green economy and all these solutions and give us a healthy landscape that's going to give us more opportunities. And how can we not invest in that? It's just ludicrous. And so I just carve all that aside and just keep paving away and don't take any notice of that negativity, because it's people who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They like to bring people down, right?
I was going to say, I'll make that my mantra, Victor.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I know listening to folks, in the cultural burning world is always it's always so interesting for me as someone who's not in that world to step out of my own culture and step out of my own reality and to try to understand someone else's perspective, right? And it does such an excellent job of just changing my worldview and changing the way I perceive things. And so Victor and Ado did. I remember when this was all over recording, I definitely thought about it for a while, and it was very, very refreshing. So I hope you guys got some of that. And there's more to come yet. Like I said, this is only the halfway mark. We still got another half to go. Next episode.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I think, Victor, is just an amazing storyteller, and Ado, as a mentee, is that what you say? I don't know, whatever.
Sure, let's go with that. Why not?
Is, as well, you can just see like that he is coming up in that same vein of just, really fighting for Indigenous sovereignty and autonomy over burning in our territories. So yeah, I'm excited to continue this conversation on the next episode with them.
There we go. Enough said. We'll be talking to you guys again next time, all about Victor and Ado once more, and that's the last one. It'll be the last episode after this. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, rate our podcast, provide comments.
Oh yeah, I got to say that again. Damn it, I forgot. Yeah, you have to. We're not giving you a choice this time. You have no choice. If you followed us this far, you're like 19 episodes into the Good Fire series. You have no choice. If you don't have a Twitter or an Instagram or a Facebook, like, you have to go and sign up so that you can share and rate and review, or go on Apple iTunes and or on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening to this, and rate it and reviewed it.
Or your webpage, Matt. You accept comments on your webpage, don't like?
There's comments, but I don't know how much that's helping.
Yeah, but it helps us with the dialogue too. If you
That's
want
true.
people, that you want to see if we end up doing a season 3, let us know in there. Let us know your comments on some of these episodes. There have been a few people I saw comment, which I didn't know, but I went and read.
I guess I should have told you about that.
Awesome. Hey? Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, any kind of sharing, communication you guys can do really helps us out. And we really appreciate it. So thanks a lot. We'll, that's it. We'll see you guys next episode. Take it easy. A huge thank you to Canada Wildfire for their support of this podcast. As well, we would like to thank the Fighting Gunda Jamara for allowing us to share their fire song Ween as the official song of Good Fire Podcast.